transition provision for registered businesses. As we know, under current taxation on different businesses, different taxes are applicable. On manufacturers, central excise is applicable. On traders, VAT GST is applicable. On services, service tax is applicable. We will discuss transition provision for each business one by one. Firstly, we discuss transition provision for manufacturer on which central excise is applicable. A manufacturer other than the small-scale industries, SSI, whose turnover does not exceed 4 crores, should file their monthly return in Form ER1, and SSI quarterly return in Form ER3 under the current taxation. The amount of Cenvat carried forward in Form ER1 or Form ER3 for the period ending on the day prior to the appointed day, that is the day before GST is implemented, will be allowed to be carried forward as GST input tax credit. Let's discuss the transition provision for traders on which the AT is applicable. Under current taxation system, businesses required to register under state VAT. A business registered under the VAT required to submit monthly or quarterly return forms, as prescribed by the respective states. The amount of input VAT credit and VAT return form for the period ending on the day prior to the appointed day, that is the day before GST is implemented, will be allowed to be carried forward as GST input credit. Now let's see what is the transition provision for service provider on which service tax is applicable. Under current taxation system, service provider will require to register under Service Tax Act if his aggregate value of taxable services exceeds 10 lakhs. Service provider required to file half-yearly return in Street 3 form. The closing balance of service tax input credit in Street 3 return for the period ending on the day prior to the appointed day, that is the day before GST is implemented, will be allowed to be carried forward as GST input credit. Service provided from multiple locations further under the current laws. A service provider providing services from multiple locations in the country having centralized registration had one pool of Cenvat credit. However, under GST laws he shall be required to obtain registration in each state from where he makes taxable supply. In such a scenario, the common credit balance carried forward from the earlier laws can be used to set off output tax liability in any state in the country. Input service distributor. In case of an input service distributor, input tax credit in respect of any services received prior to the appointed day shall be eligible for distribution under the GST Act, even if invoices issued in this regard are received after the appointed day. Non-payment of consideration. Reversal of Cenvat credit where any Cenvat credit availed on input services under the earlier laws is reversed on account of non-payment of consideration within a period 3 months. Such credit can be reclaimed under the GST Act provided the taxable person has paid the consideration in respect of such input services within 3 months from the appointed day. Branch transfer where any input tax credit has been reversed on account of branch transfers under the earlier laws. The same shall not be admissible as input tax credit under the GST Act. Availment of unavailed Cenvat credit and input VAT credit on capital goods. Under central excise, Cenvat credit should be availed to the extent of 50% in the current year, and the remaining should be availed in the subsequent year. Under VAT law also, VAT paid on purchase of capital goods will not be fully available as VAT input immediately, depending upon the different state VAT law and the type of capital goods purchased. The input VAT can be availed in installments spread over different financial years, as credit after commencement of commercial production and so on. Thus there must be some unveiled credit of Cenvat credit and input VAT on capital goods on the day prior to the appointed day, that is the day before GST is implemented. A registered taxable person shall be allowed to carry forward the unavailed Cenvat and input tax credit on capital goods which has not been carried forward in the returns furnished under the earlier laws, subject to the condition that such credit is admissible under the earlier laws and the GST Act. Unavailed Cenvat input tax credit equals amount of credit admissible under the earlier laws, amount of Cenvat input tax credit availed. Further, such availment of credit under the CGST Act and the SGST Act is allowed only if the said credit is admissible under the GST laws. Under GST form, GST Tran 1 is required to be filed within 60 days of the appointed day for availment of credit of existing duties taxes. For more details, watch a video on GST Tran 1. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe our YouTube channel. Please make the discussion interactive. Ask questions and post comments. We will come up with more videos on GST. Subscribe our YouTube channel and stay updated. Your feedback is important for us. Contact us at tldcdelhi@gmail.com. or call us at 0999988235.